Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over the new Gems of War Mythic of the Leio, doing a key opening for it, going over a bunch of teams and first impressions. I hope all of you have been having a wonderful Independence Day weekend as well for anyone in the United States. Anyways, as far as this Mythic is concerned, it is a little underwhelming, as are a lot of Mythics, but it's kind of like Tina 9000 but worse, but also a tank Mythic but better. So it's in a weird area where it's basically never going to be used, but it's not completely useless. It deals a bunch of damage to an enemy and gains a bunch of armor. However, both of those two are boosted by the entirety of all enemy magic, meaning that if the enemy has a really high amount of magic, you're going to gain a very high amount of damage to that unit, as well as a lot of armor. The biggest issue with this is the amount of damage that's going to do is almost never going to one-shot the target that you hit. Even if it's fairy fired, it probably still in many situations will not be enough to one-shot. This is really bad as it has no board control and has a 21 mana cost, and while it is a little bit lower for a Mythic, it is still absurdly high for not one-shotting something. So it's a pretty huge liability. It does gain a lot of armor, but there are already many other Mythics that are tanky that can also gain a lot of armor that aren't it. But it does have an interesting combination of both, if nothing else. But it has some spell reduction, has some score reduction, as you would kind of expect from like a mixed tank. And it has another useless trait. They've been giving this to a couple Mythics, and every single one that has this is very bad, where it gives a bunch of armor to all of a color if you take that color. Not only is this bad because it only applies to that specific color, but you also have to take a specific color gem for them. So if you're doing this on, let's say, a yellow Gyodor day and you get denied on yellow, well, that's not really going to help you that much. So yeah, it's pretty bad. But anyways, let's go and get into it. It's still somewhat usable. We do have some teams for it. Almost just opened event keys. Actually, wasn't the previous one in event keys. This one is in Glory Gem Guild and VIP chest. We didn't already mention already, as our Mythics tend to be when they come in for their first week. This Mythic will be available all the way until next Friday, reset time, so basically the end of Thursday. And hopefully we can get this little guy. Obviously he's been in the drop table since yesterday, but we're finally getting him now. Hopefully it doesn't take too many thousands of keys. Normally only takes several hundred, but could get a bit unlucky here. We do have Summer Imp in the drop table if you're still looking for the Summer Imp as well. Not really too important to get them as they're not associated to kingdoms, but if you're doing it for completion's sake, that is the Imp currently in the drop table with all the normal stuff. If we could actually get it, I'm pretty sure we'll get it like just barely above 9,000. Sure hope so. Might even start hitting that 200 button. I generally try not to, because the problem with hitting a 200 is if you get it on like your 7th drop, you just burn through like an extra 150 something keys. So you end up burning through a lot more than you would want to if you get a little bit luckier on a roll. So generally best to do it 50 at a time, regardless of how many resources you have. Though hopefully we'll get it at some point. It is in the drop table. Somewhere's in there. It is. I'll just get a double when we finally get it. Why is it always the worst Mythics that take the most amount of keys? Like every single time we have taken a absurdly high amount of keys, it has always been for a near useless Mythic pretty consistently. Like I'm pretty sure our absolute worst ever was Amnesia way back in the day. And even back then, it was still really bad. It's even worse now. But even back then, to back then standards, it was still a pretty bad troop, at least slightly more usable than it was now. I would like one copy of this Mythic, please. Any one copy? Any one copy? I'm going to start hitting that 200 button until we get it. Mythic, do you exist? Do you exist? I know you exist. I know for sure this game is updated. You are in this drop table. Gosh, are we 3,000 keys down? I'm pretty sure we're 3,000 keys down. He is in there. He is indeed in there. Hello? Are we just gonna burn through every single key trying to get this Mythic? This is one of the unluckiest we've gotten in quite some time. Gosh, I'm gonna hit that 200. I'm just scared to keep hitting that 200 because I feel like I'm gonna have zero soon. Though we have plenty of resources. We could hit 0 gem keys and still be perfectly fine. But did they remove this thing from the drop table? Gosh. No Mythic Saturday? Sure feels like it. Are we like 5,000 keys down? I am pretty sure we are 5,000 keys down. Oh no. There we go. Gosh, that took 5,000 keys. Well, that was an exceedingly unlucky Mythic. That takes the cake for unluckiest Mythics we've gotten for the last like 2 years now, 3 years. When have we gotten that unlucky since? I don't think I've ever gotten that unlucky with gem keys specifically. But yeah, I think that was 5,000 gem keys, or at least very, very close. Well, there goes half the stack. Though even if we run out of gem keys, I still have like 1 billion other resources. We're never going to run out. But gosh, that was definitely a hit, that's for sure. But it happens sometimes. Anyways, Oh yeah, it's not under unowned anymore. Duh, I own it now. We kind of just got it. Let's see, the Leio. All right, let's go get this guy upgraded. And definitely was not worth the resources, that is for sure. Gosh. I don't know, how do we do this? There's a couple different ways you could do it to save on resources. I think we'll do the double method, where we go get the first trait, get it to like level 18, and then throw like 2 small greens, 2 small oranges. A couple different ways you could do it depending on what kind of resources you were looking for, how many orbs you have laying around. But we'll do the double. And there we go. Okay, we now have an upgraded Leio. So let's go use this overly expensive troop. We had our placeholder right over here. Do keep in mind, this thing is pretty much unusable. This is mostly just for fun to kind of test, kind of see what it does as first impressions, as I haven't personally used it yet. Obviously, we just got it. However, I do not foresee it being too useful. If you want a mechanic like this, you're generally just going to be using Tina 9000, as it serves the kill and option while also doing mana accumulation pretty well. So this first one that we're doing actually utilizes the new hero class. It doesn't exist until about a month from now. However, I'm doing it preemptively in anticipation for it. The next hero class that we're going to be getting will give 50% mana start to all constructs, and it itself is also a construct, so kind of like Titan, but for constructs. And it's really tanky, really good in construct teams, and this is a triple construct team. Obviously, the Mythic itself is not. However, a lot of the synergy that we're doing with it are, because we're doing it around a Ethereal Sentry. Ethereal Sentry ends up giving a bunch of attack to an ally based on their armor. This thing gains a bunch of armor, so we're just going to give it a huge amount of attack, and then we're going to be good to go. That is pretty much the game plan with this team. Fountain of Stars also just here as a construct. Though by the time the next kingdom comes around, there might be a better option than Fountain of Stars. This does give a lot of purple, but it's going to be a little bit hard to mana accumulate it in this context of this team, whereas something that can actually feed off of brown or purple, particularly brown, to have something to leak brown into would be pretty good, to have some kind of construct for that. So I almost feel like it will be used in quite a bit of construct teams, mostly because Ethereal Sentry going to be quite a bit more usable once that hero class comes out. It's a mechanic that's normally not used too often, increasing something's attack by its armor, but it could be pretty useful into the future. It also creates a yellow storm, which does technically have synergy with its final trait, where once those yellows, however, the benefit you're getting from it is pretty minuscule overall. But anyways, Stone Slicer is a really, really good weapon. It's actually one of those things that's going to get super broken once a construct hero class exists in about a month or so. The main reason for this is it feeds mana back into itself. There are only a few types of the double mana generating weapons that feed back into itself, and this is one of them. It creates brown and purple while using purple, so it will get that purple mana back into itself, which is obviously very, very, very beneficial for mana accumulation. So right here, a little bit bottlenecked on value. He's probably just going to kill us with Zugoff, which I don't think we could do anything to stop, so we might have to redo this team. Let's try this again. Okay, let's try finding something that won't auto-kill us. That'll work. Not much of a team, but I do just want to show one here. So let's go show it here. Should have done the other method where we did an explore first. Oh no, you gotta be kidding me. He froze literally the one thing we need them not to freeze. And now I can't take that red, I can't take that yellow. Oh gosh. Do we have extra turn value anywhere on this team? Not really. Not with Titan anyways. So I'll take that down. I'll obviously take extra turn, can't really stop that due to the freeze there. That freeze is gonna be a bit of a problem. We need to just take blue at this point and try getting Slicer up. Slicer is going to be our main win condition at this point. Throw down the Slicer. Just try hitting him from the front. Oh, he isn't actually running... interesting. He's not actually running the thing on his hero. So we can go for... You really need a cast off before we can actually end up doing this. And it currently cannot get one. So we're going to have to go farm for a little bit of mana here until we can actually get that rolling. So now we'll do a boost ratio based on all the magic, which will give it a okay amount of armor. A pretty decent amount. That's actually one thing that isn't completely horrible with it, if nothing else, is a sizable amount of armor that it does gain. It just doesn't really have much of a use for armor without synergizing with other options like we are right here. So we're going to go for a red over there. Just kind of poke that over. We're then going to go and finally give it its attack value, which is the whole premise of this team, is to do one big setup into that. And now we're pretty much just good to go. We just go poke again. Oh, having barriers kind of in our way, though. It doesn't have any kind of like small preemptive poke to get rid of that. So we're going to have to go do that with Stone Slicer ideally. That thing being in first slot's actually kind of annoying too. We really need this thing to die. I don't think we have enough damage output though. Like when we go and cast this, I'm pretty sure that is not enough damage to actually break through. So that kills that out. That's perfectly fine for now. Because if we get entangled on first, we actually have our full amount of skull value as well. So we're going to go for this. Hopefully he doesn't re-barrier, though he's probably going to off of something. 4 HP. Will you survive? Will you survive? Is it going to survive with 4 HP, which means 1 HP? No, but it regained barrier on the thing, though. No. Gosh, it can't even take out a team this week. That is sad. It just did 100 damage. Oh, what is this Mythic? It just lost to the weirdest rope dart team I think I've ever seen. Anyways, there's one. Next we have the Set Type Warrior category. Also, once again, in the category of things that are Construct, that will gain quite a bit of benefit in those kind of weird teams. Lord of Slaughter, also Construct. But anyways, let's go and do it with this one. So this one actually ditches Hero. We're trying to go for just a nice Leprechaun to start us off with, into a Set Type Warrior, into the Lord of Slaughter, and oddly enough using Lord of Slaughter as our mana accumulator, which might seem like a weird thing, but it actually can end up being your primary mana accumulator, or your secondary mana accumulator after you've done something else to feed him up with another troop. It is something that can be done. Biggest issue that this Mythic has, as you'd kind of expect, hey, we got someone else using it with a life and death build here, but the biggest issue with this is it actually getting its mana is by far its absolute biggest issue almost every single time here. So right here, hopefully this will not die to Death Mark, as we definitely need it for our setup here. So we have a couple different targets depending on what we want to go for here. I'm pretty sure I'm going to kill the enemy's own version of our Mythic here. That does expose this to now be the first slot, which is not ideal with this Mythic. If you're going to be using it, second slot generally going to be more so where you end up putting it, even though the other team did end up doing it in a different position. Mostly because you do want to make sure your armor value, assuming you're using it for some kind of boost ratio, you do want to make sure its armor value can stay kind of safe. Though, interestingly enough, he's also using it as his first slot option as well, because you get to utilize it for its tank capability, if nothing else, if you do it that way. So any of this thing to not die to Death Mark would be absolutely great. We kind of just need to set up into another cast and just hope that's going to work out then. We're going to go for our poke here. Really need something to die out, and that is our target of hopefully will die out soon. I could take red to brown, however that doesn't actually give us any further benefit, however it does deny him, and I don't see anything wrong with taking that here. He does get a little bit of Cascade. I can take Skull Poke, but this is not running with super high skull damage like we were with the previous one, so we're not going to have enough. However, we do have a spread here. If the spread gets really lucky, that should be enough to kill him. Oh no, but he has spell reduction, so that is going to be a little bit short as well. Otherwise, actually that still would have been short even without the spell reduction. Still would have been slightly short. And now he gains a bunch of armor, which is a bit problematic for us, as we actually do not have enough damage to kill. Our best bet at this point is just try to get one more set tight, even just let him poke us, which will lower down our damage, but we're just going to have to deal with it. We have another purple over there that will help feed our mana. I'm just going to have to take a skull poke here, as I believe our main win condition at this point is try to get set tight warrior back to full mana off of brown, and hope that will be enough. We are going to take that just for a little bit of mana there. Probably going to skull poke us again. No, he's going to go for good vert. That Death Mark. No! The Death Mark killed our win condition! Which is obviously, oddly enough, more of a troop than the Mythic itself. Oh, gosh. That's kind of funny. Oddly enough, I do feel like the final team that we're doing here will actually be our strongest one, and we will end up losing here. We were one set tight away from winning, too. But anyways. So, next we have a Doomed Crossbone to Web Spinner team. Very nice. Oddly enough, the cheapest team will probably be the strongest team. So here we're using a Angry Mob build while still using the Sight Type to try to feed it, but we're putting it all the way in last so that we make sure it does not get hit whatsoever. So it could basically backline tank for us, essentially, is the main gimmick that we're going for with this team. So right here, we're mostly using Angry Mob to get our mana accumulation. We have an Essence of Evil to deal with very big threats, which we're definitely going to need to do if the thing can actually survive. It will end up dying. We do have everything we need on our team to technically win. However, I believe he kills us here, so we probably don't. Because this could be triple damage, doesn't have scar reduction. Yeah, we do die. So actually will be a loss there. Let's try this one last time. Can this Mythic do anything? Let's try it again. Let's try it again. But yeah, this is a Mythic you're basically never going to use unless you just want to try to put on your team. Which is pretty much the main thing he's going to do. Is if you just want to mess with the gimmick. But it doesn't really have much of a gimmick. Is the other big issue with it. Like, there's not much on it that is particularly unique that something else doesn't already do better by a mile. But hey, we're actually going to win this one, oddly enough. We do have some Fairy Fire too, I believe, from the good Gargoyle. Or technically, that'd be bad Gargoyle then. So we're going to go for a little bit more mana accumulation here. Go throw that down. I'm trying to get our last slot to have full mana again. Are we frozen on red? Wait, we don't even need red. Well, technically we do, but, you know, we don't because he has full mana already. So we're going to take that. He's going to get extra turn poke there. He's going to try to loop, but luckily AI is pretty bad at doing that. We are frozen on purple, right? Yeah. So I could throw down another Essence. One thing to keep in mind is Essence does throw down a web, which technically means it gains less, boost ratio, because one of its boost ratios is based on the amount of enemy magic. but when an enemy is webbed, it has 0 magic, so do be mindful of that if you're using it in any kind of context like that. However, I believe we will cast this, let him take everything that's currently on the board, just get a nice poke off of Fairy Fire. As you can see, even with Fairy Fire, it does not have enough damage to kill, which is pretty insane for how high its mana cost is, that even with the assistance of Fairy Fire for additional 50% damage, as something that should in theory be one-shotting things, it still can't one-shot things. But yeah, it's pretty much as bad as I thought it would be, maybe even worse than I thought it would be, but yeah, it's not usable. It is very much not usable unless you're just putting it there for fun. You may have noticed I didn't really show it with a beast team. You can put it with Forest Guardian for a 50% beast start and stuff like that. I personally don't feel like that's going to be worthwhile compared to using like almost any other beast in the game, as it doesn't really fit with the Forest Guardian troop as far as what it's trying to do, because it's more of like a all-in skull spam kind of build rather than, you know, like a armor building up kind of thing. Like, you can still use it as your tank, but the fact that it double mana blocks it is problematic, because you can't really do that with that team and then double mana block it. With something like Leprechaun, you kind of can, but something like Forest Guardian, you won't be able to while still using it properly. But anyways, guys, that is the Mythic. It cost us way too many gem keys at 5,000. Hopefully all of you guys got way luckier on it. Let me know in the comment section how many it took you, because I might have set the record. I think I beat everyone in the comment section this time. Sometimes people have horror stories of like, oh, it took 3, 4, 5,000. Well, I took 5,000 this time, so we joined you guys for once. But yeah, I think we might have beat everyone this time on Unluckiest Mythic ever. But anyways, guys, I hope you all have a wonderful Independence Day weekend. I will catch you guys soon. Goodbye, everyone, and thanks for watching.